Chaturi, you can read the questions.
Yes, Bhante. We're still 5 minutes early, and
5 minutes early, then we can wait.
yeah, just to give people a chance to post something and everybody to arrive.
Chaturi, you can read the questions.
There's an echo, I think.
What is that
We're
echo?
still 5 minutes early, and
So we wait.
Bhante, there's an echo. Okay, let me see. Yeah, you're streaming live, so you need to turn the sound off on the live streaming because it'll create an echo.
Now it's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually close the browser.
Yes.
Okay. Now 23 people.
Yeah, we have a couple questions.
Wait a moment.
Good morning, Bhante.
Good morning. Bill and Inoka.
Yes, Bhante.
Good morning.
Morning, Bhante.
Good morning, Bhante. Good morning, everyone. Nice to be here.
Good morning, Lisa.
Morning.
Good morning. හොඳට පේන මේක දාගන්නවා.
Everyone Saranai Bhante.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි. මෛත්‍රී.
Yes, Maitri from.
ඔව්. කෝ දරුවෝ මෛත්‍රීගේ?
ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉස්කෝලේ වැඩ හමුදුරනේ.
Okay, Chaturi, even though
Yes.
there are only very few people, you
Okay.
can ask me questions.
We can start. Okay. So, Bhante, yesterday you said that a few things that this person would like to ask a question about. You said that the mind is like a wild animal that's going here and there, and that we have to interrupt the mind, and that this is actually a delicate, gradual training. How do we delicately interrupt the mind?
In this mindfulness meditation practice, you first have to recognize the nature of your mind, and then you have to determine that you want to train this mind not to behave like wild animal. That commitment you have to make first, determination, and with that determination you start focusing your mind on your breath, paying total undivided attention to the breath. Then mind gradually stays in the breath. So this is how we train the mind to stay on the breath. And then as you focus the mind on the breath, as breath goes in and out, in and out, in and out, then we find a place where the breath touches. When it goes in and comes out, the breath touches certain point, certain place of the nose. Some people notice the breath touching the tip of their nose. Some notice the rims of their nostrils, some notice inside the nose. Now this variation depends on the formation of nose. Some people's nose are turned up. They may find the breath touching their upper lips, inhaling and exhaling. Some other people have their nose turned their little down, and then they notice the breath touching the tip of the nose. Others' nose are straight. They might find the breath touching the nostrils. And these variations, they have to, each person must breathe several times to find out where the breath touches. Now, first you notice the breath. Second, you notice the point where the breath touches without the breath touching certain point. You cannot notice the breath. That is called phassa contact. Only from contact feeling arises. You feel the breath as it touches your particular point of your nose. And then that wandering mind, just like wild animal, gradually stays on the breath. Notice the touch of breath, notice the feeling of breath, notice the perception of breath, notice the attention of breath. All this mind begin to notice. Then the wandering stops. This is how we gently, diligently focus the mind on the breath and stop wandering it here and there. It is a gradual process. Then that is why the Buddha said, Anupubba Sikha, Anupubba Kiriya, Anupubba Patipada. Anupubba means systematically, gradually, we train the mind. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. I'm just curious, Bhante, will the point of contact always be the same throughout the practice, or is it possible that the point of contact changes over time?
Point of contact, once you notice it, you can find the beginning, middle and end of points of contact. That is called Adi Majja Pariyosana in Pali. Beginning point and the middle point and end point. These are the three places where the breath touches. When you breathe in, the first beginning you notice at the tip of your nose, nostrils or upper lip, whatever. The middle is your chest area, end is your lower abdominal area. When you breathe out, lower abdominal area is the beginning, chest area is the middle, nostrils or tip of the nose or upper lips is the end. So, as your awareness develops, you become aware of these subtle points of touch. Okay?
Okay. The next question is what to do when the breath becomes very subtle or maybe can't be perceived at all. Sometimes I have the impression that I imagine feeling of breath only because it is said that one has to stay with the object. But actually, I feel no breath. I feel only vibration, energy in the body, and sometimes other space opens. Can you please give some advice on this, Bhante?
Yes, all these are true. when you don't feel the breath, Buddha gave a very practical suggestion. That is, you have to think that the breath is not gone away. I mean, you're feeling, your consciousness is not disappeared. When you are unconscious, you don't feel the breath. When you are in the fourth jhana, you don't feel the breath. When you are in what do you call santa vimukha state, that is arupa jhanic attainment, you don't feel the breath. So that is the first thing you have to realize. Then as soon as you start to meditate, you have not attained the fourth jhana. Your consciousness is not gone back to a mother's womb or previous life, or you have not attained arupa jhanas and so forth. This is the first thing. And you know the breath is somewhere around. And therefore, Buddha gave a simile that when a farmer, after ploughing his field in the mid of the day, he unleash his buffaloes and he take rest under a tree, knowing that buffaloes are there. But the buffaloes roam here and there, go into the forest, and they keep grazing for some time, several hours. Then the farmer does not worry. He simply knows where the buffaloes would come. That is the place where there is water. So he takes his rope and goes and waits near the place where there is water. It can be a pond, it can be a container, it can be a river or whatever. And wait. Then these buffaloes will come there, and then they drink water, they rest in the water, and then he very gently tie them back and bring to plough and tie. This is a simile. Similarly, when you notice that breath is not gone to previous life and so forth, it is somewhere around there. In order to notice the breath, you take several quick breaths, several times, and then you notice the breath at the place where it used to touch. And that's what you have to do. That is, if you want to stay with the breath, that is what you have to do. However, when breath disappears, you feel vibration. Also, don't worry about the breath. Focus your mind on vibration. And vibration also is happening all the time in our mind and body. Because as we breathe in and out, all our tiny, minute particles in the body are changing. They all definitely vibrate. When we are not in meditation, we don't notice, but they are happening all the time. They are happening. When we are in meditation, mind becomes calm, relaxed and peaceful. No hindrances are there, no disturbances. At that time, any tiny, minute thing you can notice. It's very tiniest sound you can hear. Very subtle smell you can smell. Very subtle touch you can notice. And any vibration you can notice. The vibration is the indication of impermanence. Now in Vipassana meditation, impermanence is the biggest thrust. We have to focus the mind on impermanence. We can understand it intellectually, but now you begin to feel vibration. That is the time you really experience impermanence. So, one of these two things you can do. If you want to go back to your breath, you have to do the suggestion I made earlier. If you don't worry about the breath and vibration is stronger, you stay with the vibration, and then you notice rising, falling, appearing, disappearing, some sensation with the vibration. And that is an indication of impermanence. Impermanence is defined as whatever is rising and falling is impermanent. If you notice rising and falling, you notice impermanence. So in a vibration, you can see very subtle rising, subtle falling of vibration. That is a very good subject to stay with to understand impermanent nature. Okay?
Okay. The next question, let me see if I can understand it. It's the person is asking that last time you talked about purpose and development being two sides of the same coin. And the person is trying to understand if there is like something involved at the same time on these two sides. What's the connection between this and the nature of anatta?
Could you repeat the question once again?
Yes, that last time you said that purpose and development are the two sides of the same coin. Is there like another component to this, like another side being anatta, the nature of anatta in relation to purpose and development?
Okay. Now I used two sides of the same coin as an example of samatha vipassana, concentration and mindfulness. In our practice, these two go together, these two develop together, concentration and mindfulness. Anatta is another thing. When we gain concentration, we can see things exactly as they are. Things means the five aggregates. Exactly as they are means exactly as they are changing. When we see the five aggregates exactly as they are changing, always we understand that there is no permanent self, anatta. When we straightway begin to develop mindfulness, as I said, this noticing vibration, rising and falling of the breath, rising and falling of abdomen, and nothing stays the same always. Every time things are changing. That is also a way to know selflessness, no self. So one thing is directly becoming aware of mindfulness or developing mindfulness, the other is concentration. In both ways we understand non-existence of permanent self. So this is, you can say, third dimension. First is samatha meditation, tranquility meditation, concentration meditation, which leads to mindfulness or insight or wisdom practice, and both show that there is no permanent self. This way you can see three-dimensional picture. Yeah.
Next question, Bhante. Bhante, how do you actually see the arising and the passing of feelings, perceptions, mental formation, and consciousness? Is this a slow, gradual process, or does this happen very quickly?
Now, they happen very quickly. They happen all together. They don't take turns like to say that you change first and then I change next and I change that. They don't change in a sequence, certain sequential order. Just like what you call domino effect. When one falls, the other falls, the next fall, and so forth. Not like that. They all happen together. And therefore, mind has to be very powerful to notice this quick changes taking place together. Quick changes of 5 aggregates. While form is changing, feeling also changes, perception changes, thought changes, consciousness changes. While consciousness changing, other 4 changes. And therefore, they all change together. Sometimes we can become aware of the changes of feeling more easily than the other. When the mind is focused on the body, we can see the bodily changes. When mind is focused on the feeling, we can see the changes of the feeling, and so forth. But when they change all together. Our awareness we can shift from one to the other to see their changes. So we cannot slow them down, or we cannot expedite or accelerate their change. They take their own time and they change at their own speed, and our awareness can be shift from watching one to another. That we can do. But they change at their own speed. They change simultaneously, altogether. Okay?
The next question, Bhante, is can you speak a bit more about tranquilizing bodily formation and tranquilizing mental formations?
Now, bodily formations, what could you repeat the question?
Tranquilizing, making the bodily formations calm and tranquil. How do you do that? And how do you do that for the mental formations?
I think I want to repeat my answer, the explanation I gave earlier yesterday or even before. Just imagine you ring a bell. At first you hear the sound very hard. If you keep paying attention to the sound of the bell ringing, you notice the vibration or the bell sound slowly becomes softer and softer and softer and softer, and go to very lowest decibel. That is how the breath first becomes gross, as keep you paying attention to, without any disturbance, and naturally it becomes softer and softer and softer and softer, and then becomes tranquil. That is the breath. And the feeling, sanya vedana, what you call chitta sankhara. Chitta sankhara is the sanya vedana, that is the second tetrad of the mindfulness of breathing. First tetrad is the body, for which we use the breath. For the second tetrad also we use the breath, but focus is more on the feeling and perception. Exactly like the breath, our feeling also becomes subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler, and it reaches the stage of tranquility. So this is the the way it happens very naturally, gradually.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question is actually a quote from one of the suttas. The person is asking, in the suttas, there is a simile on how to develop the first jhana. And here is the quote from the sutta: just as if a skilled bathman or a bathman's apprentice would pour bath water into a brass basin and knead it together, sprinkling it again and again with water, so that this ball of bath powder, saturated, moisture-laden, permeated within and without, would nevertheless not drip. Even so, the monk permeates, suffuses, and fills this very body with rapture and pleasure born of withdrawal. So then the person that is asking, when one is at this stage, are they aware of the breath, or are they completely aware of rapture in the full body?
Yes, and that simile is given to illustrate the rapture in the first jhana. That is very common simile. The person who is in the first jhana has piti sukha, joy, the gladness and the pleasure that person experiences. That is his entire mind, and the body is charged with this joy and happiness, piti and sukha, of the first jhana. So, although it is, first jhana is not a very high stage, but once he is in that state, that person will experience this in his mind and body working together and completely filled, just like bath powder when you put into a bathtub and pouring water little by little and stirring it. Every drop of water in the bathtub is mixed with what do you call this, bath powder. Bath powder is totally diluted in the water. That kind of feeling the person will have. Yeah, that's all I can say about that.
Okay. The next question, Bhante, is a question about a person's practice. The person is saying, I perceive the body as an energy body. Additionally, there are energy waves visiting the body. Sometimes this is pretty strong. This visiting vibration or energy feel very friendly, calming, soothing. Sometimes it feels a bit excited. It is very happy energy, but I only observe it. It doesn't affect my own mood. Then the energy wave leaves again. Can you please comment on this, Bhante?
You have excess energy, too much energy, but you don't worry about it. You just focus the mind on energy. That's what the question?
The question is that the person feels like they're observing waves of energy that visit the body, but it doesn't, sometimes it's very soothing, calming, sometimes it's more exciting, but it doesn't affect their mood. It's like they're just observing this energy, but the mood is not affected by it. The energy is like a wave that comes and goes, doesn't really affect the mood. And they're asking for you to comment on this.
Right. Energy, these are what we call one of the faculties. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. That is a Virya faculty. Or Bala. Saddha Bala, Virya Bala, Sati Bala, Samadhi Bala, Panya Bala. Bala means the strength. You should not focus your mind only one of them. You have to learn to balance them. When you balance them, your mental state, your peace prevails. If you focus only on one of them, then you will not at a very peaceful state. For instance, when energy rises and falls, your mood changes according to the rising and falling of energy. When your faith rises and falls, going up and down, like bipolar, going way up and way down, then your mood will change. Now in meditation, you have to balance all of them. Faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. These are the 5 faculties, 5 strength, 5 powers. We have to balance them. That is where we need mindfulness to understand which is stronger than the other. Then, in order to balance it, the passive state must increase. If the energy is too much, then you have to go to faith section of these 5 powers. And that way you can maintain your very peaceful mental state. Okay?
Yes. Next question, Bhante, also about practice. The person is saying, I have been practicing Asubha meditation recently, and I've noticed that my loving kindness has been dull whenever I practice loving kindness meditation after Asubha. Do you have any tips?
When you practice what you call loving kindness meditation,
They first practice Asubha meditation, the reflection on the loathsomeness of the body. And then if they practice loving kindness meditation after practicing Asubha, they feel that loving kindness meditation is kind of dull. And they're asking, do you have any tips for this?
Now, first to meditate on what?
Asubha meditation. The loathfulness of the body,
unattractiveness of the body.
Yeah.
Okay. You practice that first and then practice metta?
Yeah.
Okay.
And metta is dull when they practice after that, after unattractiveness of the body.
So the metta practice become more effective after practicing loathsomeness of the body?
It's less effective after practicing. Yeah, less effective.
Less effective. Well, it should be more effective because when we practice loathsomeness of the body, that's very subtle practice. One can develop equanimity. There is a discourse in Majjhima Nikaya called Indriya Bhavana Sutta, last discourse, where Buddha has mentioned you practice this loathsomeness of the body whenever you want to practice it, and you focus your mind on unloathsomeness and think of loathsomeness, or you think loathsomeness but think of loathsomeness. And then thirdly, you give up both what you call loathsomeness and unloathsomeness and practice equanimity. Now that is very highest level of practicing loathsomeness. And therefore when you practice equanimity is one of the 4 Brahma Viharas. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. Once you start practicing one of them, you practice the other 3 as well. Everywhere Buddha mentioned metta practice, he mentioned the other 3 also in practice. You select one of them and develop other 3 as well. And therefore loathsomeness practice can enhance your metta practice rather than other way around. Because your understanding, you have to develop your understanding of practicing loathsomeness and metta. There has to be a balance, because both of them are equally very effective meditation system. Loathsomeness of the body has to be practiced very carefully, mindfully. Similarly, metta practice one should practice very mindfully and carefully. I wish I will give talks on these 2 topics some other time when I finish this. You remind me, I will do that. Okay, there are, I think, many more questions, but I think you also need some time to meditate. And if there is any question that requires very short answer, you may answer that.
I'm not sure if this one is short, Bhante. This question is about removing covetousness towards the world. Does it also mean removing extreme lobha towards the non-worldly joy of others, happiness and tranquility, which oneself has not yet attained as well? So does it mean, let's see if I can understand what the person is saying. Yes, does it mean also removing the aversion towards not having attained happiness and tranquility that does not require worldly pleasures?
Yes, one who has attained arahanthood does not have worldly pleasure, but until such time individual can have worldly pleasure. Only one when attains full enlightenment, they don't have any worldly pleasure. That is called niramisa sukha. Others have both. Others, occasionally they can have both. That is when they practice meditation, attain jhanas, then during that period they can have unworldly pleasure, but once they come out of it, they will back again in the worldly pleasure. So friends, I think this may be enough for answering questions. I think there are many more questions, but
Actually, that's all, Bhante. But if people have still some questions today, please write them down for next week and we can address them next week.
Yeah, okay. If you ask next week, I can answer them next week. Okay? Now let me go to our metta. Where is that? Okay. Let us okay, let us practice little meditation. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay, with this metta thought, let us practice our by means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, once again, let us share our metta with all living beings and wish them peace, happiness, and liberation from samsaric suffering, particularly those who are suffering in hospitals, taken care of by very compassionate doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs. May they recover very quickly and return to their normal health and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. May all those doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs who are so compassionately dedicating their lives, sacrificing their comfort, risking their own health, take care of these people. May they also have very peaceful life, practice Dhamma, and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May all those who are in grief, they are grieving the death of their departed ones, may they be free from that grief and continue their Dhamma practice and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May all those who are in various corners in the world, suffering from wars, discriminations, various kind of atrocities, economic problems, and so on, may they find peace, happiness, and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering, never to have this kind of pain and atrocities in their life. And all others who are generously supporting various humanitarian projects in the world to help people in many ways, may they continue their generosity, compassion, and practice Dhamma and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. And all those whose category is not mentioned may be well, happy, and peaceful. May they all liberate from samsaric suffering and attain Nibbana. Okay. Now, that is the end of today's session. Okay, see you next week.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, sadhu, 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 sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Everyone,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
thank you,
Everyone, Saranai Bhante.
Sadhu, Bhante.
Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
Have a great week.
Sadhu, sadhu.